Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Great to have you on board with us. Number to call, 888-589-8840 if you'd like to join the program, 888-589-8840. And I want to get your reactions to this hostile takeover of the Democratic Party by secular fundamentalists. That's what it is. It is a hostile takeover. This subterfuge, this subversive action began this conspiracy to take over the Democratic Party and turn it into something completely different, began in earnest in 1972. And so I'd like to get your reactions to this. I said in the monologue today that the choice between these two political platforms is now no longer political but moral. I'd like to know if you agree with me and why. Is it no longer a political choice but a moral choice? And we can all agree that not every Democrat believes everything in the Democratic platform. Some of them are pro-life, some of them are pro-marriage. And not every Republican, particularly the leaders of the party, the elites in the party, not all of them subscribe to what's in the Republican Party platform. So they're not good Republicans. They're Republicans in name only. So let's accept that just kind of as a rule of thumb. So what do you think? Do you agree with me that the choice between the two parties now and the two-party platforms is no longer a political choice? It is a moral choice. And what's going on in the Democratic Party, this may explain something that some people find hard to understand, and I did for a long time, because you have people that grew up as Democrats, particularly in the South. Their parents are Democrats. They grew up as Democrats. They've always been Democrat. They're always going to vote Democrat. And I think the reason for that is very simple. They do not realize that the jewels have been stolen from the safe deposit box. They had certain values as loyal Democrats that they believed. They believed in the sanctity of life. They believed in the sanctity of marriage. They were good-hearted, salt-of-the-earth people. Somebody came when they weren't looking and stole the riches. They stole the values out of the lockbox. They're gone. But these traditional Democrats don't know it. They don't understand that this is no longer their father's Democratic Party. It has been stolen from them and turned into something that bears no resemblance to the Democratic Party of their parents. Now, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, speaking of the issue of Israel, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is out there. She quoted the ambassador of Israel to the United States saying, hey, Republican values are dangerous for Israel. And then she tried to deny that she said it, but she was caught red-handed because we've got audio tape of what she said. Let's listen.
I didn't say he said that. And unfortunately, that comment was reported by a conservative newspaper. Not surprising that they would deliberately misquote me. What I always say is that unfortunately the Republicans have made Israel a political football, which is dangerous for Israel. And Ambassador Oren has said that we can't ever suggest that there is any daylight between the two parties on Israel because there isn't, and that's harmful to Israel. That's what I said. And that is accurate. And we have to make sure that in America, we don't have people who put their love of party in front of their love of Israel. And as the first Jewish woman to represent Florida in Congress, Shepard, I take my love of Israel to work with me every single day.
So she's saying, look, I never said that the ambassador said the Republican policies are dangerous to Israel. I never said that. I was misquoted by this conservative newspaper. This is just a hit job. They misquoted me. They distorted my words. I never said that the ambassador of Israel said the Republican parties were dangerous to Israel. Well, here she is saying exactly that thing. Let's listen.
We know, and I've heard no less than Ambassador Michael Oren say this, that what the Republicans are doing is dangerous for Israel. They're undermining Israel's security by suggesting that the United States and Israel don't have anything other than a unique and close and special relationship.
So there she is. She said it. Michael Oren told me, ambassador from Israel, told me that what the Republicans are doing is dangerous to Israel. And, of course, Michael Oren's out there flatly denying it. Said, I never said any such thing. We have friends in both parties. We're not here in America to take sides. We need help and cooperation from both sides of the aisle. Now, Bart Stupak, this is clip 13. Now, let me go to some phone calls. We'll take the Bart Stupak clip next hour. I want to get your take on what we've been talking about here, this hostile takeover by secular fundamentalists of the Democratic Party who until 1972 shared the same moral values, shared the same Judeo-Christian framework that the Republican Party shared, taken over by secular fundamentalists starting in 1972. Now that hostile takeover is complete. Let's go to Wayne in Nashville, Arkansas. Wayne, you're on Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What do you think?
Brian, I appreciate you accepting my call.
You bet.
I just want to say I'm a lifelong Democrat. My grandfather, my father, and myself and all. But this here for the Democratic, not Democrats as a whole, but the Democratic Party, for what they are standing for, it's like they are defying God. They have crossed the line. And we as a family, we've had all this we can take, and we're going to the other side.
Well, you know, Wayne, you're exactly what I'm thinking of, because, you know, I've run into a lot of people in the South who've been lifelong Democrats, and now they're kind of waking up and realizing something has been done to the party that I grew up with, and it sounds like that's your experience. All right, Wayne. Well, listen, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I think Wayne is an example of a lot of people that are realizing that the Democratic Party basically has been stolen from them. It's not their father's Democratic Party any longer. 888-589-8840 is the number to call. Let's go to Bill, College Station, Texas. Bill, what are your observations about this hostile takeover of the Democratic Party by secular fundamentalists?
Brian, I read their platform last night. It just sickened me. First off, they're taking and reducing Christianity to a non-profit organization. Then they're asking us to accept biblical sins as accepted lifestyles. Then just the total acceptance of abortion is sickening. The whole route they're taking. Like you said, they've just totally taken morals out of their platform.
Well, Bill, you know, it's interesting to me, and I appreciate your call. Thank you for that. You know, it's interesting to me. I mean, this is the most radical political document. The Democratic Party platform is the most radical political document we have ever seen in the United States in our history, adopted by any political party of significance in our political history. I mean, it's abortion on demand. You know, under Bill Clinton, his mantra was he wanted abortion to be safe, legal, and rare. At least he said it. We know there are too many abortions. We ought to reduce the number of abortions. I want abortion to be rare. When they occur, I want them to be safe. I want them to be legal. But we need to work toward eliminating or reducing the number of abortions. The current Democratic Party is not saying that. They're saying abortion, we want it to be safe, we want it to be legal, and we want it to be abundant, and we want taxpayers to pay for it regardless of their religious principles. 888-589-8840. Let's go to Danny, Tampa, Florida. Danny, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What do you think about this hostile takeover of the Democratic Party?
Well, first of all, I don't see it as a hostile takeover of the Democratic Party. I know a lot of Republicans who say that there's a takeover by the moral majority way back starting back when Reagan took over. So they're very displeased about that too.
Well, Danny, hold on just a second though. According to these historians, both the Democrat Party and the Republican Party shared exactly the same values on moral issues until 1972. Nobody took over nothing. I mean, the Republican Party has always stood for these conservative social values, and the Democratic Party stood for those same values until 1972.
The Republicans I'm talking about that. They're talking about the extremists, the religious extremists, like like Brian, I said, like yourself and other people there. They are very, Michelle Bachmann and all these people, Rick Santorum, Michael. They're very frightened of you all, and that's why they told me they're not going to vote for the ticket with Paul Ryan and anything to do with evangelicals. And also, let me say that.
Okay, Danny, let's go back to that just for a second. Who is frightened of who now?
They're frightened of you all. They're frightened of the extreme evangelical tone that has struck the Republicans, and they are very shying away from it. They tell me this already.
So these are Democrats that you've talked to.
Republicans have told me this. Republicans.
Oh,
Republicans that I know.
So you're saying Republicans
for the Romney ticket because of this? They're scared of the social conservative extremists in your party.
So hold it, Danny. Hold it. Hang on a second, Danny. Hang on a second. So you're okay, Danny. I guess we've lost Danny. I guess he's gone. Is Danny still there? So Danny, are you saying that you have heard from Republicans? You've heard from Republicans that they're going to vote for Obama because they're scaredy cats. They're afraid of
They
people
are
like
scared
me?
Of you people. Exactly right. I hate to be so blunt, but they're scared of you people. And if you think that Debbie Wasserman Schultz and these people, name me one Democrat, name me one politician that goes against Israel. Not one. Hillary Clinton is drenched in Israel money. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, not one. And I'm a very anti-Israel policy. I'm against the Luqed Party. I'm against the way they treat Palestinians. You can't say that. It's political suicide in this country, and you know it.
Well, Danny, but then how do you explain the fact that the Democrats removed virtually the entire Israel plank and removed their support of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel? If they're not anti-Israel, how do you explain that?
Good. I'm anti-Israel. I'm not anti-Israel. I'm anti-Israel policy. That's a good trick. I'm glad they did that. That's one of the reasons I'm voting for them. That's why you people cannot be in power. You cannot, and you will not be in power.
All right, Danny. Well, listen, I appreciate the call. Love the use of you people. I always thought that referring to others as you people was racist or denigrating or condescending or something, but apparently not in Danny's world. So anyway, this article goes on to explain that this growing divide in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, and this goes back to something that Danny said, it was not actually due to the traditionalists in the Republican Party becoming more strident, because that's Danny's meme. Well, the whole reason is that they got more aggressive, they got more assertive, and they started taking the thing over. But they says, but they say no. The reason for the divide is that the secular fundamentalists, like Danny, they're the ones that became aggressive. They're the ones that became assertive. They're the ones that began taking things over and twisting the Democratic Party to the traditionalists in the Republican Party didn't go anywhere. They simply believed what they always had believed. It was in the Democratic Party where the seismic shifts were taking place. Focal Point AFR Talk. We'll be right back after the news. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.